Okay, question here from Sam. When you refer to belly breathing, are you using it interchangeably with diaphragmatic breathing? From what I understand, diaphragmatic breathing involves a coordinated movement of the abdomen, rib cage, and chest, while belly breathing focuses solely on the abdomen. I've read that diaphragmatic breathing is considered better because it promotes full lung expansion, helps reduce stress and tension more effectively. Well, I mean, I could probably give like an hour-long lecture, which would be sometimes interesting, but probably bore the crap out of people as well on this topic. But as a general rule, just don't use the word good or bad, better or worse, in this field. We're working with the body, and as soon as you get those words tend to funnel people's minds into certain belief systems, and that generally doesn't work over time. They get more locked than they were before because they believe this if they do this technique, it will lead to this outcome. And that's very simple, rational, logical thinking, but generally in body stuff, it doesn't work well, or it only works on the outside a little bit. Now, belly breathing, okay, and diaphragmatic breathing. When I refer to belly breathing, it's complicated because I got into different techniques using the abdomen about 5 years ago, and that's been a journey for me, a slow progression. So what's kind of it's left me in 2024 with an assortment of techniques which I'm referring to as belly breathing, several of which are completely different, but all of which do use the abdominals. So I don't know which technique I was referring to when you pick that up, but generally with belly breathing, I'm looking at usually two different techniques, and one I nowadays call mammalian belly breathing, which basically means learning to breathe by only usually done lying down is best, purely through moving your abdomen with your entire airway relaxed. Now, animals can do this. In fact, all mammals appear to be able to do this, as far as I'm aware, but humans cannot do this. And humans cannot do this. I mean, it's in their DNA. In theory, they can do this, but because their frontal lobes have taken such control over them, they've blocked the ability to do that, and they've created so much armoring, in the throat and in the diaphragm, particularly. It's very, very hard for humans to breathe with their solely by using their abdominals, keeping the rest of their airway entirely relaxed. So, and just to fill that bit in, I mean, it's possible because the lungs are drawn down when the abdomen moves out. And so air will flow in if your entire airway is relaxed. So that's mammalian belly breathing, or mammalian abdominal breathing, as I'm calling it these days. It's a very useful technique to bring the nervous system right down, because it will literally, if you only breathe with your abs, it literally will just, your nervous system will just fall in line and you will just relax. But it's extremely hard to do initially and requires a lot of practice because our body has conditioned itself so strongly out of it. So that's mammalian belly breathing. Now, there's other belly breathing techniques that you can use, and which I use, for example, in this intense belly breathing workout, where you balloon the belly out, pulling as much air in as you can, and then contract the belly right back into your body cavity, pushing out as much air as you can. That technique is designed to break holding in the abdominal area, which is excessive in most people. It's very high. They've either padded themselves out with a lot of food to create just a barrier between the fiery kind of reactivity of the belly area, or they've just locked it under a lot of control, with your oral or rigid, basically, in kind of like in character structure terms, and anyone, and I mean everyone is just locking a lot at the belly in my experience, just literally the whole planet, possibly some people in some African tribe somewhere might not be, but everyone is. And so that kind of this kind of intense belly breathing action, which I also teach people, this is useful to start to break into the kind of primal knot in the belly. So that's the ways that these days I'm using the term belly breathing or abdominal breathing. Um, and then let's say, so diaphragmatic breathing is like a thing which some people do where they're trying to fully inflate because the diaphragm is here and it gets locked. It's one of these, these two big groups of muscles which get locked in the throat. The mind is trying to create a stable personality that it can then project into the world to get needs met, to get friendships, to get love relationships, to get a job, a role. It wants to look in a certain way. And so the mind learns to lock off certain areas of the body so that all the energy and intensity inside there doesn't get in the way of this nice personality it's trying to create. And in a sense, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just that by doing it for a period of time, certain muscle groups get entirely locked. So the throat area gets locked, and people literally, there's like a sense of energy pushing up and it's just locked in the throat. I've had this pretty strongly and still suffer from it at times. And also the diaphragm. The diaphragm gets super locked, and that way the mind learns to suppress all the energy that's lurking lower down the body. One of the problems with the diaphragm and with locked diaphragm is we can't easily move the diaphragm by itself. It's this big bell-shaped muscle underneath in the base of the rib cage, and it's hard to get to. So what you can do is inflate belly and chest and then contract them back in, by moving the two muscle groups, the one above it, the intercostal muscles inside, in between the ribs, and the belly at the same time. You create a slight effect which may get some of the holding basically out of this diaphragmatic area. So that's the idea with diaphragmatic breathing, as I understand it. There's plenty of Reichian techniques you'll find on my channel, which we'll talk about that. You'll probably find other people using the words diaphragmatic breathing entirely different as well, basically. But diaphragmatic breathing is better because the thing to understand is that these techniques are trying to achieve entirely different aims, and it's really useful to get this. Like I say, people get hardwired by certain words they read here and there. I try not to use those words as much as is possible because it doesn't support people to understand anything that's going on underneath. We want that to get through something. That's understandable. We're humans. It's how we are. But in so doing, we can lose so much understanding of a process. It ceases to have any function, and we don't understand why it doesn't work, basically, or why we're not getting any change when we do it. Cool, Sam. Thank you for asking this question. I've talked a bit around it and stuff like that, so it's given me an opportunity to do that. Thank you.